Hello everyone. So we are building this amazing e-commerce application and we have this playlist to see all the videos that we have made so far. So far in the backend part we have covered how to create the product and the categories that you can see from the last video. If you want to go through it, you can go through it, or you can start with the branch that I have made for you guys, so you can directly download the code in this branch and you can follow along with me in today's video. So today's video is going to be very interesting because today we are going to build sign up and sign in features for our backend. So as you can see that we have built the category and product before. So and our full code is hosted in Heroku, where you can see all the APIs, and we have also hosted our front end, which is made by Vue.js in Netlify. So as you can see that we have the feature of sign out, sign up, and login. When we do sign up or sign in, we call our backend APIs, which we defined here. You can see that we have a sign up API which takes email, first name, last name, and password. And we have a sign in API which takes email and password. And when you sign in, we have already created one user, and so let's try to sign in. So it will be admin@gmail.com and password is admin. So let's try to sign in, and you will see that our status is success and we get a token. And using this token, we can authenticate or other request which requires authentication. For example, when we want to add something in the cart, so we have to pass our authentication token here. Also, when we want to add something in our wish list, we also have to pass the token. As you can see, we have to pass the token here. So let's see this in action. So let's first log in. So you can see in the network tab that when we sign in, we call the sign in API and we send the email and password as the payload. As you can see from the API, we send the email and the password and we get this authentication token that you can see from here. You can see the review that we have this status success and token. And now we are logged in, and as you can see that we have 2 items in our cart. So you can also check that part in the cart API. So when you call the cart API, you just need to pass the token and you get the cart items. You can see that we have 2 items in the cart. One is this product, Samsung S9, which you can see here, Samsung S9. And you can see that we have one more product, which is OnePlus 9 Pro, this 5GB, and you can see it here. And you can see also the total price here, as you can see it here. So when we pass this authentication token that we get from the sign in, you can access all the other APIs by this token. So today we are going to build this sign up, sign in backend, and you will retrieve this authentication token. It is going to be very exciting. And one disclaimer is the way I did the authentication is not very secure. It's just for demo purpose. But if you really want to have a really robust authentication, you can go with the JWT authentication, where you have to send the authentication token in the header. You create a JWT token and you pass it in the header, and that's how you can access other APIs which are secure. But in this tutorial, we are not going very deep into the authentication part. It's because we are more concerned how to build the cart, how to build the wish list, how to create, how to fulfill the order, how to create the Stripe checkout. These things I want to focus more. So that's why our authentication is not that secure, but it can be a really good example, a beginner example to start, which is not very complicated, and you have an idea how to create authentication for your project. If I have to explain it, so we will create two tables. One will be user table and one will be authentication token table. So every authentication token table will have a user ID, and that's how we will have the one-to-one relationship between user and the token, like ID. And so you can see that user has ID, and we'll store this user ID as user ID column in the authentication token table, and that's how it will be made. So when you log in, when you sign up, we create a entry in the user table, and we also create an entry in the authentication token table. And when you sign in, we check the email and the password, and then we fetch the relevant authentication token from the authentication token table, and then we send the token to the API, as you can see here. I hope it's clear. If it is not clear, please drop a comment in the YouTube video, or join our Discord channel. I can help you out with there. So without further ado, let's get started. So you can find the code till now in this product APIs branch. And from there I have created one branch, YouTube authentication, and you will find these two branches in the description of the video. So you can follow along with me, and this will be the finished code that I will upload. So let's get started. Let's start the coding. So first we will create one controller, which will be user controller. So let's create that. Control N Java class user controller. So we will have a request mapping, user, and it will be a REST controller, and here we will create two APIs. One will be sign up and one will be sign in. And we will create a service for this. So let's go to the service directory and create a class user service, and let's annotate this class by service. Okay, and then we'll create a repository. It will be user, and it will be an entity, and it will have a table name, users, and it will have ID field, generated value, strategy will be generation type, identity, and private integer ID. It will have ID, first name, last name, and password, email and password, right? So let's create column. It will be first name, then we will have column, name will be last name, then we'll have email, then we'll have password, we'll hash the password. You'll see how to hash the password in the video. Private string, password, and I think that's it. So we'll just create the getter and setter for these fields. I'm not using Lombok because sometimes it can create some bugs, but if you want you can use Lombok. I just prefer this style because IntelliJ just generate the code automatically for setter and getter, so I don't have to worry about it. So now user will create one more repository that will be token. So let's create authentication token, and it will be also an entity. Table will be tokens, and it will also have ID, generated value, strategy will be identity, column will be ID, and you have a private string, it will be token, and we'll have column, it will be created date, it will be Java util date, and we will have a one-to-one relationship with the user table and the tokens table. So we'll have one-to-one relationship, and the target entity will be user class, and you can have a fetch. We can fetch it as eager. You can read about the fetch type more in the documentation. So let's just go ahead with this and join column. So nullable will be false because we always need to have a user linked to the token table, and we can give the name as user ID, and we'll have private user will be user. That's how we link the user and token. And now let's just create the getter and setter for all the thing and column name. So I have to also need to have private integer ID. So let's also create the getter and setter for ID. Alright, so we have created the user model and the authentication token model, and we have linked the user and the authentication token tables, as you can see from the diagram. So now let's create, so I think I made a mistake, so this will be part of model, not repository. So let's move this in to model. This is model and this also model, and we'll now create the repository for user and the token. So you can create one repository, it will be user repository, and it will be an interface. Let's annotate it with repository, and it will extend JPA repository, and it will extend the JPA model, user model, and it will have integer. So let's import class the model. So we'll create the methods later, just first create the class. So like this, we will also create one more class. It will be token repository. It will also be an interface, and it will be also a repository. Extend JPA repository and user and integer. So it's not user, it will be authentication token. Awesome. So we have created this, and we also need to create a service. Like we have created user service, we have to also create one more service. It will be authentication service. It will be a service. All right, so to summarize, we have created two models, authentication token model and user model, and for these two model we have created repository and two service, and we have a user controller right now. Now we need to create some DTO for sign up and sign in. So first let's create the sign up API. So just think what will be the input of the sign up API, right? So it will have email, first name, last name and password, these four fields, right? So we need to have create a DTO, sign up DTO, which will have these four fields and which will be passed in the user controller, and then we can save this data. As you can see from the UI also, you can see that if you sign out, when you sign up, we have to pass email, first name, last name and password. So these four fields. So let's create this DTO first. So we will create one DTO. It will be sign up DTO, and it will have 4 fields as we have seen: private, string, first name, private string, last name, private string, email, and private string password. And let's create the getter and setter for all the fields. So now we are ready to create the controller for sign up. So let's use post mapping, and we will have it a sign up and public. Response will be a just response. We'll also create one DTO for the response. Okay, and let's create a package in the DTO for the user, because we'll have many DTOs here. So let's create this user DTO and put the sign up here, and we'll create a response DTO which will only have status and message. Private status, private string, status, and private string message. All right, and you can also create a constructor if you need. Okay, sounds good. So now we can create the API. So it will return the response DTO, and the method will be sign up, and it will take a request body of sign up DTO, and we will call the user service to sign up the user. So let's auto void the user service here. And return user service dot sign up. We'll create this method sign up, and we'll pass the request body sign up DTO, and let's just create this method first in the user service. So we'll just run this code till now to see everything is working fine or not. So we can just create a dummy response, like so. The response will be response DTO. So just let's create something a dummy response. We can pass status as success and message as dummy response. So let's try to run this code and see if everything is working fine or not. So let's restart the server. So let's see if we can see the API here. And you can see the new API here, which will be sign up. So let's just pass anything here and let's see the response. And you can see that we are getting a dummy response. So everything seems to be working fine. Now what we'll do is we'll just implement this sign up method, right? That's we need to. So the flow will be save the user and create the token. As you can, if you remember, so first we need to save the user in the user table, and then we need to authenticate. You just need to generate the authentication token and send it to the and just store it. And when you sign in, then we will find the user and then find the token and send the token to the user. So let's do that. One thing will be also that we need to hash the password, right? Because we cannot store the password in a text format. We need to hash the password and then save it. So let's do that. So we have to first auto void the user repository. And also we have to check if there is already a user with the same email address, then we cannot let the user to sign up again. So what we can do is check if user is already present. So we can create one method in user repository that, let's go to user repository and make a method here that user find by email and string email. If you want, you can also, when we are in the sign up detail, you can add some validation for email. We are not going to do that for now. So find by email. So we'll first check get email. If we get a if we get a user already, then we will just reject it, that we cannot register the user, right? So what we can do is if objects not null, this if it means we have an user, we can return a exception through new so we can create a exception. Okay, so first we need to create something called exceptions. So we will create a package, it will be exceptions, and we will create something called a exception controller advice. So it will handle all the exceptions in a global level, and we can throw the exceptions in service, and it will handle these exceptions and show a nice message to the users. So let's create this class. It will be called controller exception controller advice. So we'll create controller. It will have an annotation which will be controller advice, and here we will now create a class. It will be custom exception and it will extend illegal argument exception, and it will have public custom exception, and it will take string message, and it will just call super message, and we will register this exception in the exception controller advice like in this way. So we'll have something called exception controller except handler, and the value will be custom exception dot class, and it will have public final response entity, it will have a string. I will use handle custom exception, and it will take custom exception and it will return new response entity exception dot get message, and it will have HTTP bad request. So basically what will happen that if we throw a exception like here custom exception that user already present, it will throw an exception which is registered in the controller advice, and it will throw a bad request response entity with this message that we are sending here. So simply that's how we can explain it. So now we'll have to encrypt the password, right? So if it comes here, it means that the user is not already present. So now we need to hash the password. So we can say that string encrypted password will be, first let's get the password, sign up DTO and get password, and let's now try to encrypt the password. As password, it's a method we will create. So let's get this method, and it will throw an exception. So we'll have something like message digest MD. It will be message digest get instance. We'll use MD5 hashing, but you can also use bcrypt or something else. For now we'll just use MD5. So we'll just create a exception, no such argument exception, and then md dot update password dot get bytes, then byte, we'll get a byte array, digest will be md dot digest, and then we'll get a string, hash will be dot print extra binary, and we can pass the digest here, and we can make it uppercase. And we can return the hash. This will be the hashed by MD5. We'll test it. So we'll get this exception. If we get exception, then we'll just print the exception, and you can throw one more exception. Get message. Alright, so we got the encrypted password. We don't need to actually throw the exception here. We can, if we fail to have the password, we can just set the password as it is without encrypting. Now we'll save the user. Set email will be signup dot get email, user dot set first name will be, or you can just use a constructor here. We don't need to pass the ID. Okay, see, we have made a mistake in the password. Password. So you can create a constructor here without the ID. First name, last name, email, and password. So we can create this constructor here, and here we can create a new user by signup DTO, get first name, signup DTO dot get last name, signup DTO dot get email, and the hashed password, and you can save the user. Okay, so first we will test it, and then we will create the token and also save that token, right? So let's do it step by step. So let's restart the server, and I will also check in the database if we have the password or not, if we can see the new user or not. So I'll just open my MySQL. So use v2. You can see the database in the application properties. It's equals v2. So now show tables. So we already have the tables created. So let's open. So we have this we have already have some data present. So we'll create one more user, and you will see that it is saved in the database. So let's test it. So let's refresh the page and let's try to see. So let's make a dummy. YouTube, last name, last, let's give some email, youtube@gmail.com, password YouTube. So let's try to save it. And let's see if you can see the new user in the database or not. And as you can see that we have the new entry, you can see it here, and we don't have any role, so ignore this for now. So you can see that we have email, we have the first name, last name, and the hashed password. So it's working all fine. Now we just need to save. We have saved the user, so we just need to save the token. As you can see that we have saved the user. Now we just need to save the token. So we'll now work on saving the token. So in our authentication token model, we'll create a function here that we'll create a constructor here which will take the user, and it will just will create a constructor of which will take the user. This created date will be new date, and we'll create a token. It will be a UID dot random UID to string. So we'll save this random token. That's it. So in the user service, let's now try to save the token. We'll import the service. We'll auto void the authentication service, and first we'll generate the token by calling new authentication token, and we'll pass the user, and we'll introduce a variable for here. And now we'll save the token by calling authentication service dot save confirmation token, and we'll pass the token there. You can create this method in the service. So here we will import the repository. Token repository, and here we will save the token. So we set the token here, and we'll also make it transactional, because suppose what happens is that if we generated the user and then if the token is not saved, then we'll revert the newly created user, because we want both of these to happen together, right? So that's it. So if you can see that now we don't have the token for the YouTube user because we didn't save it yet. So now what we'll do, we'll just delete the new YouTube user, and then we'll again create it, and then we should be able to see that the new token. So let's delete from users where id equal to 4, and now let's see the users. We have only 3 users, and we have the token is also not present. So now we'll restart the server, and we'll again save it, and we should be able to see the users and the token, the new user and the new token. So let's we have restarted the server. So let's now again generate it. So we got success, dummy response, and now let's check in the database that if we have the new users and new token or not. So as you can see, we have the new users of YouTube, and let's see if we have the token, and you can see for the user ID 5 we have the new token, and you can see that 5. So as you can see from the diagram, we have created a user authentication token, and for the user, and it has the user ID, as you can see. So you can see that the new token has a user ID 5, that is a newly created user. So now when you sign in, we'll just return this token, and using this token all the other authenticated requests like adding product in the cart, getting the cart items, saving an order, those will be authenticated by this token. So everything is working fine, it seems. So instead of this, we can send a message that user created successfully. And so now we'll quickly implement. So let's close all that everything. And we'll implement the sign in method. So let's create this method, post mapping sign in, and it will have public. So we'll create a sign in response. So we'll create a DTO for sign in response. So as you can see that we have, when you sign in, we have these two things, status and token. So we'll create this DTO. It will have two variable, private string status and private string message, not message, it will token, right? So we'll just create the getter and setter and one constructor. That's it. So sign in response DTO, and it will be sign in, and we have a request body. So we'll create a sign in DTO also. It will just have the email and password, private string, email, private string, password, so constructor, and getter and setter. You can press Ctrl N or Command N to create these constructors. So we will pass sign in DTO, and we will return user service dot sign in, and we will pass the sign in DTO. So let's create this method. So first we have to find user by email, then we have to hash the password, then we have to compare the password in DB, then if password match, then retrieve the token and return the response. So these are the steps for sign in. So let's first get the user. User will be user repository dot find by email, and it will be sign in DTO dot get email. So if objects dot is null user, it means user is not present, so the email is not valid. So you can throw a authentication fail exception. So you can create a exception that will be called authentication fail exception. So let's declare it authentication fail exception. And it extend illegal argument exception, and public authentication fail exception, string message, and let's register it in the exception controller advice, public final respond entity string handle authentication fail exception. It will be almost the same. You can copy the same thing here. So if we don't get the user, so you can throw an exception authentication fail, user is not valid. So now has the password. So now try to hash the password and check the password. So what we can do, if user dot get password equals to hash password, the password of the signed DTO, and we have to wrap it in the try catch. So if it is equal, if it is not equal, then just throw an exception that wrong password. Now the password is matching, so now we'll create the authentication token. Token will be authentication service dot get token. We'll create this method now. So this method will get the token for the users. So let's create this method here. So what we can do is we can find study. So in this here we can create a method find by user authentication token find by user and pass the user. So here we will just find by user and user. So you got the authentication token here, and if this token is null, then we can just throw an exception. You can throw an exception like a custom exception that token is not present and then return new sign in response DTO. Status will be success and token will be the token dot get token. So that's it for the sign in. So let's see if we can get this token for this user. So let's refresh the server and let's try it here. So we'll try the email and the password. So if we refresh the page, the Swagger API, then we should see two APIs and we can see the new sign in API. We can try to sign in youtube@gmail.com and password will be YouTube. So let's see if we can get the token or not. So we got some error. What is the problem we are facing? Let's debug. We have to create a default constructor for the entity user. So let's go to the users and let's create a constructor which is select none, and let's refresh the server again. And let's hit the API once again, and we got the same error. That is there now. So you also have to create one default constructor for authentication token, which will select none. So let's hope that it works this time. So now let's hit it again, and now we can see that we have the token and we got a success. And let's see if it matches with the token that we have saved. And you can see that we are sending the right token. So let's try some wrong cases. For example, if you send YouTube 1, then we'll see there is not valid 400. And if we send YouTube, if we send wrong password YouTube 1, so you see wrong password. So one point that I would like to mention here is that we should not have different response for if the email is not right or if the password is not right. We should not have different response, because what happens is that if an attacker comes and if he sees different message, it will be easier for him to hack our system by brute forcing the password. Because what happens is that suppose he get a response that the password is not valid, so he can try so he knows the email is valid, so he can attack our system by different password, and it will be easier for him to crack. But if we just send a response that email and password is not valid for both cases, then it will be difficult for him to hack. And this is for a demo purpose, so I didn't implement it. And also this is not really secure, so to be more secure you can use JWT, like JSON Web Token, that is more secure. I found this really nice tutorial for Java Spring Boot, so you can also see it. Spring Boot security. So I think this is a really good course by Amigos Code, and if you want to create more secure system, you can follow this tutorial and make this application more secure. But I won't go deep into that. This is a basic authentication system that you can use, and I hope you learned something from this video. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe my channel to get regular update of the video. So in the next tutorial we will create the other API, like we'll create the wish list and we'll create the cart, and then we will have the Stripe integration and we will save the orders. So this will be the next videos, so stay tuned for the next videos, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestion, how can I improve the video more, please leave a comment in the chat box or reach out to me. That's it for the video. In the next video I will implement also the UI for the sign up sign in using Vue.js. Stay tuned and have a good day. Bye.